We're back. It's your movie review, man. I'm Jeff Johnson, and this is,
Claude Faitier.
and we have our special guest, my oldest son, Jeffrey II.
Right.
The Johnson men we're getting all the Johnson men on here soon. Maybe we'll have to get my other son, have all the Johnson men on the show. But for today, Jeffrey is our special guest because Jeffrey has been much anticipating the show that film that we're reviewing now. It's kind of hard to call it a film as long as it is in 6 parts. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League. Claude, you want to kick it off?
Okay, well, Zack Snyder's Justice League is actually a movie that was made. There were a lot of fans that were looking for the so-called Snyder Cut. So there were issues with production. It was a big budget movie, and for the most part, Zack Snyder, who's had a very strong, commanding force in terms of directing movies, did Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. The family encountered, they had a unfortunate tragedy, so they had to bow out of completing the movie. And so what Warner Brothers did, since it's show business, they're trying to look out for their interests. They decided to recruit Joss Whedon to complete the movie. And Joss Whedon has made a lot of interesting, cool TV shows, very good movies, and basically, set up the foundation of, the group hero movies with the Avengers and everything. Another thing is they were like, well, Joss, why don't you punch it up? The movies usually, a little dark and everything. So he did the things that he did, which is, made it a little more colorful, made it, funnier. And as a result, those who saw the 2017, the movie was sort of like a train crash between 2 different styles. Some people liked it. I didn't care for it. I usually like Joss Whedon, and I was like, this was a good plan B until I saw the movie, and I was just like, ew. So there was always a call for the Snyder Cut. People are like craving for it starts out as myth. It's like a lost film and something that needs to be found. And due to the fan pressure, and I have to honestly say, probably due to COVID and the studios needing sort of like a big, budget movie, they decided that they were going to, I guess, greenlight this. They gave him about $70 million to say, okay, just do whatever you do to in order to get this done. And during COVID time, we have, I guess, another big budget movie that people sort of know, but this is still new, because he added about an hour and a half of new material. So the movie starts basically at the end of Batman versus Superman. Is the final moment when Superman sacrifices himself when he's fighting against Doomsday, and he lets out sort of like the death scream, and this energy just goes throughout the world. Everyone's feeling the effects of Superman dying.
Yeah, they literally give us
the wave of it. The energy actually ends up sort of like opening up or triggering 3 mother boxes to start vibrating and turning on. And so at this point, the mother boxes are turned on. A threat that was hinted at comes into fruition. And we are introduced to the character of Steppenwolf, who's come down to Earth to collect the mother boxes so that he can lead another supervillain to come down to Earth. And at this point, Earth is in danger. How is the Earth going to recover since Superman is not there? Well, Batman he's made aware of certain meta beings, and he actually goes on he and Wonder Woman, they are fighting towards the end against Doomsday with Superman. And they realize that with extra metahumans, that they need to get everybody together in the team to save the Earth.
So that's a really good intro to this. especially when you talk about how we came to remaking a film that was already released in 2017. And we're sitting with one of, Jeffrey, were you one of the many people calling for the Snyder Cut?
I was in the middle, but I definitely wanted to see like this full vision, but at the same time, I wasn't like over the net restore the Snyderverse, but I definitely want to see the vision.
Well, Claude said he didn't like the Joss Whedon version, that he felt the difference between the two different forms of a much darker version. He could feel the difference between a much darker version and Joss Whedon coming in there and lighting it up and throwing in some jokes and lightheartedness about it. What did you think about the 2017 version?
I think when I first watched it, I definitely enjoyed it because it's like, okay, we're seeing all these heroes come together on the screen. But when you just like see more of it, if you like really think about it, it's basically an action movie it's basically just a cut down version of the Snyder Cut we have now, So it's basically an action movie. So I feel like it can be enjoyable if you shut your brain off and listen to jokes.
Oh, okay.
So, but
and what do you think about since both products are out there now? What do you think about people who maybe never saw either one? What should they do with the 2017 version and the Snyder Cut version before we start talking about what do you think what they should do?
Now that we have the Snyder Cut, you might as well watch Snyder Cut at this point. I don't see any advantage of watching another cut except a few jokes.
But Claude obviously agrees with you. So Claude,
yeah, no, big time, big time.
Skip the first one, go straight to the second.
Aquaman.
Yeah, no,
Aquaman
Jeff.
But I don't. That's about it. That's
God, you clapping on that, so you haven't admit. So people who haven't seen either.
Me. We're like this, Jeffrey. We're like this.
Let me jump in here.
I saw that first movie, and I was like, not only did I want my money back, I wanted Warner Brothers to give me 2.5 hours of my life back.
Yeah. Remember in the end scene when Flash pushes the car, but then Superman makes him rendered useless. He picks up the whole building, and Flash is just like, "Oh wow," and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can't tell you that I went back and watched the first one again in preparation for the Snyder Cut. And why? Because the Snyder Cut is what, 4 hours, 12 minutes? I'm trying to look it up. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not even 4. What is it? 4 hours, 12 minutes?
I think like 4
really?
hours,
Really?
That's a very long
really?
film.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have a counterpoint here with you all. When I saw 2017, I didn't feel like I needed to have my life back, but I did feel like it was a makeup. It was a cleanup of Batman versus Superman, which it's hard to drag this whole thing into our full conversation, but I think it's worth covering. The superhero fans, of which all three of us are qualified, are the superhero fans. We watched all these movies. We watched Man of Steel, and then after Man of Steel, it was like the next generation of DC films. It was a new cast playing Superman, and we were expecting a new Batman. Some of us had gotten used to the fact that there was a new Batman every film, so we were expecting a new Batman, and therefore we're expecting we're going to get a new Batman movie, and then maybe one day they'll bring all the heroes together. That would be very similar to the way Marvel did it. Give us the individual characters, and then one day kind of do some team ups. But instead, after having the Superman Man of Steel, they jump straight into Batman versus Superman, and they throw in a little Wonder Woman for good measure. So like, okay, I didn't need all that all at once. They smashed it all into the Batman versus Superman film, and then kill off Superman for good measure. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. Wait a minute, what? You didn't give me a Batman movie, and you killed Superman.
Yeah. I feel like this probably should be more for another talk, but now if they do any Superman movie, all of his villains are like useless because he already died. What are you gonna you're gonna kill him again?
Good point. Good point. Hey, we know how to bring him back, right? He's died once. What could you possibly do to him, right? So I only bring that up to say that the Batman versus Superman film, that was, entertaining, but a little disappointing from what they did with the characters and where the heck were they going and why was this movie so dark? We've spent, for those of us of a certain age, Claude, Jeff, Claude, those of us a certain age, we had Batman campy on TV, and that was fun and funny, and it was silly on purpose, right? And we enjoyed that for what it was. And even when they made a movie of that same Batman, Adam West Batman, it was 100% campy. It was played just for jokes, and that was fine. And then we had the 80s era of Batman, and it started semi taking itself seriously, and then it got campy with its recasting and its kind of silly casting and a new Batman each time. And so we got used to that. But for us to jump all the way into Batman kills off Superman the first time we see him in a film that we thought was going to be a Superman sequel, wasn't really prepared for that. So when they came back with the 2017 Justice League film, I'm thinking, wow, you're getting way ahead of yourself. You didn't give me a Batman movie. You didn't give me a Superman sequel movie. You killed them off the first time you started introducing new characters. You jumped straight into this film, and without, bringing in all the backstory of why and the recasting, new directors, we three, we love knowing the backstory behind movies. But, I'm a big proponent, of course, that each film should stand alone. Yes, I know all about it and the actors, and I love knowing about them, but by itself, it should stand alone and be an entertaining film on its own. And the Justice League film, I think I told Jeff when we went out of it, I said it was a good cleanup. It was like clean up an aisle 7, right?
No, which one? The 2017?
The 2017, I considered a cleanup an aisle 7.
Okay.
That they got in there and said, wow, that Batman Superman really was a mess. Let's just piece this thing together the best we can and say goodnight. Close the movie by showing all the individual characters, hint to everyone that we promise this time we're going to give you individual stories from all the characters that you love. Please come back. Don't hate us. And at that level, I thought it worked. It was entertaining. I didn't need all my money back. It had lots of holes in it, but at least it didn't stab Superman through the chest after poisoning him.
Jeez. Yeah, Batman was vicious.
Batman was bad. And Batman versus Superman. So that's all I was going to say is I didn't hate it. And so and I definitely wasn't on the Snyder Cut bandwagon. I tipped my hat off to the fans. I like power to the people. And so the people demanded the studios that we wanted, to see the director's cut of this thing, to see a unified vision of whatever this dude had in mind in the first place, instead of two mashed up things together that they clearly were just trying to clean up and make nice over. But, I've said this many times, Claude, I'm an American film consumer. We like our movies 90 minutes to 120. 2 hours, baby, I got to be out of here. Okay. Now, that having been said, I've watched many long movies, but 4 hours and 12 minutes, it really is a stream consumable product.
You know what? I would probably say, you're probably right in terms of it being sort of like streaming, but I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I was completely engaged in the story, because that first Justice League, to me, it was like they knew they were competing against Marvel. They basically said, oh, the Avengers are out. And Avengers was like the winning track team that was like halfway through the track. And then Justice League is like, oh no, we need to get started. And there wasn't any way. They were like, we'll even get the same coach And they were just, you could just tell the things that were familiar in the story, and it was just like, this is just sort of like Avengers Light or whatever. And it wasn't very good. But I'd honestly say the 4 hours, I was completely engaged. I did not do it through one sitting. I broke it up into 2 parts. But I think is, I could have watched it in one night, and I could have definitely, if I was in the theater, seeing it on a big screen, I definitely could have watched it, because the extra stuff they put in there just did not seem boring. I love the extra scenes that explain certain things that were happening in the movie. I love the fact that they completely develop Cyborg's story. I mean, they just add a whole bunch of stuff that was just not there. They added a little more dimension to the Flash character. There were things that sort of, in that first movie that just sort of, didn't make sense, or wasn't quite feeling, that he sort of, further explained. Cyborg's father's, sacrifice was sort of built up a little, there wasn't any, I guess, sacrifice in an earlier version, but it was interesting that he sort of, marked the mother box. They knew where to take it. Now, it makes me wonder, what was happening with Bruce Wayne's satellite, because that thing that they had in Russia with that big thing, I mean, he had 6 satellites. They couldn't find that thing with all that nuclear waste. That was just okay. But I mean, but that's a little, but that was a tiny hole compared to the Mack truck size holes that first movie had. And yeah. I'm gonna be honest. It was really, in my opinion, just
no spoiler.
A lot of stuff was cool. The idea of the mother box, that was further explained what it was. They developed the villain Steppenwolf. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that the design in that first movie was probably closer to the comic book, but I had to say that that big metallic needle spike suit that he was wearing was imposing as hell. They made him really ferocious. They made him look like, like a threat. I didn't quite understand the little spider thing. I don't know where that thing came from, but anyway, we always have to have a creepy thing that just.
They have to have a creepy thing. They gave him a spider mind reader, right? So they could read people's minds, but then he felt like he had to interrogate a person in person and himself. What? So that you could read the spider mind? Just send the spider mind reader. Now I'm gonna go there and interrogate him myself. Like what? Because you're gonna say boo? No, you're not gonna say boo. You're gonna put the spider on his face. What? No one else can run that? I'm the only one that knows where the on button is.
So they were having him punch up the action to punch him up, and finally towards the end when Superman arrives and is beating the brakes out of him, that was a satisfying ass whooping. That was a real good one. I mean, so.
There was a moment
overall, I'd honestly say I went from that first version not being good, and I could honestly say that this was, in my opinion, just entertaining, more emotional depth to Lois Lane's character, just a little, just more things that were interesting. But God, just Ray Fisher as the Cyborg story, and just adding, because Cyborg just barely in that other movie, he was just in a hoodie and he was just in the darkness.
Yeah, he was just, a brooding, sad character with no
bargain basement Iron Man. And that this movie, they gave him a whole, we knew more about his personality,
The only thing they did with his character, they had him talking with Wonder Woman. I think after that, they completely abandoned him.
Yeah. He had a little bit more dialogue with Wonder Woman in the previous one. They had to cut out the dialogue that didn't, relate to this film, that didn't make sense. So I'm definitely happy for the Cyborg backstory, 100%. They gave us what we didn't have. I'm always happy for Cyborg's dad, the Silas Stone character played by Brother from Another Planet. He's going to be Brother from Another Planet forever. Look that up. Internet Movie Database, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Morton.
And they gave him something to do. Mm-hmm.
They gave us more of him, and therefore made his character, make sense with all the brooding and sadness part. Gave him some, nice background. He's, he has a whole bunch of, emotional challenges to have to work through. Not only the fact that most of his body is ripped off and he's part machine. but he got daddy issues that preceded him being turned into a machine. So they need to work through that. I also, I'm happy to have Joe Morton in as much as we can get from him. And they really utilized Joe Morton. They had Joe Morton doing voiceover, I think a total of 3 times, and I'm all for it. Joe Morton was the voiceover person for this film. This film still had holes, with it being a piecing back together the pieces he had and then retelling the story. I think, for the comic fans, because I would like to argue with the two of you that it's not really possible for you all to separate yourselves from your first viewing of 2017 and separate yourself from your love of DC Comics. I don't think that's possible. And so some of your enjoyment, I would argue, is that you like this story better as a comic book retelling of these characters, on top of the fact that it was slightly better as a film, but only slightly.
I also think they did more things in terms of the story. Like, for example,
yes,
we didn't have Bruce Wayne skulking in his back cave or nothing. He was proactive. I mean, and
I
did not really care for Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, but the one thing I did in the first 15 minutes of Batman versus Superman, when he comes to Metropolis and he's seeing the damage that's being done with Superman and General Zod going at it, his building getting destroyed. They sort of, in a way, give him the Tony Stark, oh, what the hell, what are we dealing with?
Sure.
And in this story, he's not in the cave the whole time. He's flying, trying to find these people. He goes.
They spend more time with him on the mission to bring him.
But he's not in the cave. He's actively doing something. So this is more of a Bruce Wayne that's like, I'm trying to figure things out. I'm not brooding in my parents' death. I am trying to save people, and he's haunted by these visions. So
sure,
I can honestly say, again, not a fan of Man of Steel and the other one, but I definitely would have been down. If they decide to make a sequel of this, I will be there. I'll honestly say that.
Well, this is what I put on both of you all about my counterpoint. We gotta have some counterpoint, and I do have counterpoint. Here's the counterpoint: is that whenever you make a film and it's really extended in length, and 4 hours and 12 minutes equals extended length, the first thing I ask you is, would have been, we talked about this, Jeffrey, would have been better if looked at it as a miniseries. We're living in an age now of, even the detective series on cable was only like 4 episodes. We're down to now, a miniseries is like 4 to 6 episodes. The re-extended version of The Hateful Eight. I talked to you about that, Claude. You and I watched the original Hateful Eight and loved it. Tarantino put it on streaming service, extended it, but he broke it up into 4 episodes. It already had chapters. And one thing that about the Snyder Cut, he puts in chapter breaks. But it's still 4 hours and 12 minutes. What do you think about that? As opposed to, why not just call it a mini series and drop it as, the 6 segments that it appeared to be, versus trying to consume it all as a film?
That probably would have worked better, because not everybody's going to watch it all at one time, but I am glad they put the chapters in, because so people would stop, and then their HBO MAX, they can continue watching where they left off. But I think, it would have been better as a miniseries.
And Claude, you consumed it, all the way through as a 4-hour product. But what do you think about that thought?
I broke it up into 2, so I appreciated the chapters also. I think that you're right, in terms of that, because the movie is a reflection of where it's going, in terms of where it is as a medium. So could I have sat there and I possibly could have. I probably would have been annoyed because but anyway, but I thought it was entertaining. But I agree. I think it's
And so what I want to say about that is that he didn't break it up into 4 segments. He did call them individual chapters, but to me, if you made them episodes, you would have tried to open, close, open, close, open, close. Did that actually happen? I didn't really feel it that way. I didn't feel the open, close. I felt the segments. I felt him re-editing or introducing segments that he didn't introduce before, and then he just dropped them on us. And when you have a film that's long, the first thing you wonder is how well it's edited. Everyone's asking for Snyder cut, and the word Snyder cut and seems cut and Snyder, but what people leave out is the editor works with the director to make cuts, and all the movies that you enjoy had lots of footage that if you go back, and Claude, Jeffrey, we enjoy film, so we like to go back and watch the bloopers, right? And the scenes, the extended scenes, or the scenes that they cut out. But when you watch those things, they're not worth it. It was good they cut them out. For really good film and a good director with a good editor, when you watch those scenes, you enjoyed it as a fan to see extra footage. But no, they needed to hit the cutting room floor. And Jeffrey and I spotted that out of the very first sequence when Aquaman is identified by Bruce Wayne. And he goes in and he and Bruce Wayne have their long chat. The Joss Whedon version filled it with jokes. And by the way, having later, after 2017, then we go and watch the Aquaman movie, which was fun and funny and lighter hearted. And Aquaman, just a totally different tone. And we're given a surfer dude, we're given a surfer dude Aquaman, loving it, right? A person of Southeast Asian descent, and he's a long-haired, hard-drinking surfer guy. Aquaman in his own movie, wonderful. Most of that is stripped out of this film, stripped all the way out. The jokes of when he's sitting on Wonder Woman's, it's not a spoiler, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that is actually that. Yeah, that scene was hilarious.
Yes, for me to tell you a scene from 2017 that he cut out.
Yeah.
Is the opposite of a spoiler. It's an unspoiler. In the 2017 film, Aquaman, surfer dude, musclehead, starts confessing his true love for Wonder Woman. Then he looks down and realizes he was sitting on her lasso of truth the whole time. And it's like, oh,
yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Whedon's stuff was not, we've seen lots of superhero movies that Jeffrey, you and I thought maybe had too many jokes, right? We were wondering about Thor Ragnarok. Maybe it was one joke too many. There were a couple of them we thought, hey, they were joking it up a little bit too much.
I thought that one was great. Yeah, go ahead.
I enjoyed all of it, but but we enjoyed them, but they were full of jokes, right? But this one, what I'm trying to tell you is the Snyder Cut vision was a harder vision, and I'm gonna come to that next, and that's what I'm gonna get both of you. Definitely Jeffrey. I'm gonna definitely get Jeffrey. Is that yes, you liked it, but he didn't like maybe the tone. That Snyder's vision for Justice League is a totally different comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a totally different kind of comic book. It's Batman who shoots people dead. It's Wonder Woman who is way far away from our Wonder Woman of the television show, and for that matter, of Wonder Woman #1 and #2. No, number one, she had her sword and shield, and she kicked butt of the evil person and vanquished them. Wonder Woman 2, she was much kinder, gentler, softer. She was lassoing people and punching them. Now, let me be clear. I like this Wonder Woman. I'm a action shoot up somebody good. I watch lots of movies with people getting killed and their heads cut off. Not spoiling, but I'm just saying she has a sword. Someone's got to get cut. This film, she's cutting folks, and I'm loving it. It's tough, rough, edgy, aggressive. And let's also be clear about this. Yes, it's streaming, but this one was rated R.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this one's rated R. Huh?
Barely noticed it to the end.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. But Jeffrey says you better notice this till the end. But you're right in the sense that at the very end, not only the way I noticed is that the action was much more intense. They upped the fighting. So if you're liking the fighting, most definitely the Snyder Cut was rougher. Steppenwolf, like you said, was aggressive. He was already aggressive before, and they put in extra scenes. They put in extra scenes with him. He was hurting people. He was hurting superheroes. He was hitting them hard. And but so were our heroes. They were shooting to kill, not to wound. Batman doesn't kill. DC lovers. This is not your average Batman. This is a Batman who'll be putting a cap in somebody. And if you got moral issues with that, you too. if you have moral issues with that, this film was like, okay, we ain't doing that. That ain't the version that we're doing up in here. We be killing some folks. So again, I don't have a problem with that as far as making it a good film, because I like action and so forth. And I'm grown enough to watch rated R, and finally he's grown enough to watch rated R. But I couldn't have taken you to this when we went to see.
It barely has anything.
Yeah, but when we went to see Man of Steel, he was just coming up with a certain age that only we could go, and we couldn't take his brother and sister. And we went to go see it. Remember, we went to check it out first to see if it was okay. And what did we determine? Even with Man of Steel, PG-13, it was loud. It was so oppressively loud that the intensity wasn't so much the violence, even though Superman kills in that film. But it was just too intense. So that's.
I think that's the only scene where it's like, okay, I don't know.
What?
That was the only scene that was that violent in that movie.
Which one?
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, yeah, he had a really violent one. But this film, full of violence.
And that was a major thing, because in our generation, it was like Superman would never have killed anybody, period. So that was, yeah.
So they're already starting to take us a certain distance, right? And there was other action in it, which was really intense, which I'm a for as adult. But Claude, you and I talked about this before, about we were worried about where Coming to America was going to go with the PG-13, because it's hard to call it. The current definition of PG-13 is not even close to the original use of PG-13, which was what film? Gremlins.
Oh yeah, well that was okay. Okay, let me do it.
And we were like, ooh, that's pretty edgy. That's going pretty far, right? No, PG-13 is going very far. Snyder Cut, ladies and gentlemen, for your review. These guys say go see it, and yes, fine, but it's rated R. It's a full rated R. Jeffrey says not so much because he's a teenager. As a parent, no, it's a full rated R. The fighting is intense. Wonder Woman is not 1984 nice. You got to agree with that. You know, we were digging it, but it wasn't no nice. There wasn't nothing nice about her intensity. And by the time they got to the end, it was both full on violence and language. Your heroes are not speaking in using hero words. No. The Joker's a bad person, but he usually behaves himself in PG-13 films and keeps his language down. He did not. I
mean, I don't expect Joker to just.
If he's in PG-13, you got to write it so he's bad. But watch what you say. He didn't watch what he said.
I would not. Yeah, I would not bet on a kid-friendly Joker.
Joker was like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad he's dead." Joker says what he wants to say.
Joker says what he wants, but he's still under censorship. So, all right. So let's move off of that. Let's talk about parts of the film that weren't so tough. Well, like we said, when they did the Aquaman scene, they cut out the jokes, and they cut out some of the major jokes about it, and that made it funny, right? Aquaman says to Batman, "Remember, the strongest man fights alone." It's like, that's not the expression. That's not the expression at all. Hey, he said, "Yeah, but it should be," and they just cut it. Yeah. Aquaman jumps in the water and he does a sonic boom shoot through the water in the 2017 version. They just take it all the way out, like somehow it's the Batman walking away when you're not looking. And then they left in some sequence where the ladies are singing some religious song to Aquaman. The whole time Jeff and I were watching that was a cutting room floor sequence.
Yeah. That was the one sequence in the movie where I was really like, okay, is this necessary? I know Snyder probably likes all the extra music, but I don't know if we really need that.
And the soundtrack.
We really did need it. We just basically saw that they saw him sort of like as a god-like figure, and they serenaded him away. I mean, honestly, they could have.
That's cutting room floor.
I'm just saying.
A tightly edited film cut it loose, and a tightly edited film did cut it loose. And this wasn't the tightly edited film. This was let me show everything I want.
Playing the Wonder Woman thing over and over and over again.
Did they do that?
Yeah. The theme, yeah. Her theme, like
actually, when I watched it, I didn't even notice, but everyone was talking about it, and then it went in my head.
Okay. But so one, I missed that they're playing a theme all the time. But I will tell you that the soundtrack wasn't better. I don't know. I have to look back at it and think about it. The music is different and not better.
I think the music was more, and you're more the music. I'm going to defer to you guys on that, but it seemed like it was more. I guess sort of like a score-like music. Each person probably had their little theme, but yeah, you didn't have like the Black Stripes playing when Aquaman goes into the water and all that type of stuff, or but it's it's yeah. I mean, he was. I think he was just, I guess, going more towards his vision. I can't explain it. I just think it seemed to work that each of the characters sort of had sort of like their own little score thing happening, and like I said, I will defer. You guys have more musical ears than me, so I'm not gonna push back on it.
Yeah,
I'll agree the music was different. Can't say it was worse. Can't necessarily say, oh God, that music pulled me in, but
it definitely didn't do that. We've grown up in an era, Claude, where you and I are spoiled by just about the same composer, which is interesting that Jeffrey's really into soundtracks and composers, and he likes the composers that are really, really good for these superhero films. But you and I have had the same one. And he's awesome for our entire existence of Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Superman. Yeah. We're kind of spoiled. The Olympics. So I don't think it stood up. It's not memorable.
I'll say this. Yeah, I feel like if they still had like Hans Zimmer, he did the Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. Despite the movie quality, but I really like the Man of Steel. And
yeah, and you like this, you like the soundtrack, you like the theme music, and you liked how the soundtrack was played throughout. Sure.
Yeah, no, and Hans Zimmer, I mean, he's just been an amazing composer. I mean, it's like we either have John Williams, Hans Zimmer, and a couple other people. So he's definitely a heavy hitter. Yeah, I like a lot of his scores too. So yeah.
So I'm trying to cheat here and surf to see who this was, but it's not really good to bring it up for me to slam them back down. It just wasn't. It wasn't like you said. It didn't carry all the way through. It wasn't comprehensive. It didn't carry all the way through. It wasn't nearly as powerful. So we were given these components that changed the story a different way. It was interesting to me to see the changes. They went hard. This is, again, it's not campy. It's not PG-13. They gave us, not rated R in the sense that it was gratuitous violence, but it was no kiddie violence. The heroes
no, it wasn't.
Gritty.
I mean, when Steppenwolf was interrogating the Atlanteans, I mean, that was not pretty
gritty
at all.
It was a gritty film.
Yeah.
Rather than adventure or sci-fi or other aspects. And if you're for that, then you get all of it.
This guy's style. This director does like the darker thing. And like I said, just the whole idea of, let's bring in somebody who could bring in some levity. I can understand it was it was a good plan B. It was just like a collision. But I love the other stuff that Joss Whedon has done, but I mean, a lot of bad ink has come out now because of the Me Too. We're not going to get into that, but absolutely loved, Avengers. I love Avengers Age of Ultron. I love Serenity. I love a lot of stuff that he did, producing Cloverfield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guy is a boss in terms of telling these stories. But it's, this was just, you have two chefs with different styles that are in the kitchen. The meal is not going to be, it's a collision of meals,
Yeah, I don't know how you go from the first Avengers to 2017 Justice League. Yeah.
Well, it's a difference when you get to do the thing all the way through, and when you have to do clean up on aisle 7.
Yeah, but another thing, I mean, there's another thing is that there's a similarity between the stories, and they're thinking, okay, if we're going to start a group, let's get the guy who did it before. So there are only two people who sort of like jump started the group thing. You had, Bryan Singer, and he's in a lot of trouble now, so you can't bring him in. But you had, but he was like, he did the Avengers. He was like, your movie made over $1 billion. Bring that magic to DC. So I think it was just more of a business decision. We want it lighter. It's gonna look brighter. He's the person that could have fit the bill, but yeah. And but again, what was already there, he could have had his own movie, but then just trying to complete someone else's stuff and then making changes and then doing all the reshoots and all that type of stuff. It just it was a collision, and that, I mean, that was it. I'm not saying that his stuff that his stuff sucked or anything, but I'm just saying that, you know, this was just, it just didn't work at that time. And I'm sort of, we were lucky enough in order to, instead of dreaming about this Zack Snyder cut, that they invested time to do it. I do agree, you know, it's like you said, it is long, but it you know, definitely was a product in the streaming, fan service, streaming, and COVID definitely were major ingredients in the movie.
They were ingredients that all came together to make this possible. And it's definitely a victory. It's definitely a victory for fans saying, you know, especially during this time when the internet is full of fan-made YouTubes of how we wish a film could be. And we also live in a time when people are, you know, voting to please bring my favorite television show back, right? For the fans to get a victory to say, hey, come back and recut a film and then put it out there in a way we can see it, that's certainly a win. Were you going to say something else, Jeffrey?
I was saying, I think we should talk about Flash and Steppenwolf and maybe a bit more Batman.
Okay, what do you want to say about it?
Okay, cool.
Flash, Steppenwolf, and Batman.
I think overall, the last Justice League had more jokes. This Justice League had better story, I would say, better action, better villains, better stuff going on than the Justice League. But I would say the other one had better jokes. But Flash in this was really, really good. And since it's non-spoiler, I don't want to say what happens, but Flash is the GOAT. Flash is crazy.
Yes.
Well, you can say non-spoiler things that you like. You like his running style, Splash signature of Flash.
We'll just give a warning. You know what, Jeffrey? Say what you want to say. We'll just give a warner. We'll put a bleep or something, or give people a warning. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Okay.
Say it.
Spoilers. So basically, Flash, he has to go into the Speed Force to redo he has to time travel and go back to save the day. So that was a really great scene. That is way better than Flash pushing a car, turning around, and Superman being like, hey, Flash, hey, this is a team movie, but I wouldn't have just let you know how trash you are because you don't have your own movie, and I do, and I get to pick up buildings, and you just take a car of 3 people.
Yes, they definitely made him more. They definitely made him more significant, right? They let him save the day. They gave him more enhanced superpowers, and then they made, you know, kind of foreshadowing of him potentially using those powers in the future. They hinted it at the beginning, then he used them and made him a significant part of saving the day. That meant that he was then pushing a pickup truck. Or being a smaller character.
It was more of a sense of teamwork because Cyborg was there. He needed Flash to do the thing that he could do. So
that's right.
This was building up more importance for them. You know,
that's correct.
And
Cyborg
was there. He was like, okay, you got to give me. You know, you got to.
Right.
The thing about Flash. The thing about Flash and other speedsters, and when I like to talk to my friends or dad and say, who will win the fight? This person. Flash is actually very, very powerful, even though his power isn't like his strength, but he's more than just running fast, you know. So I think that scene was really great. And if they continue with the Snyderverse and do a Justice League 2 or 3, give Flash his own movies, I think I could get sold on this Flash actor. But I kind of like the TV one better, but I think all the actors in this movie though, and they all did I think they also had better parts in this than they did in the first Justice League. Flash isn't just rendered useless. Flash does something with one of his crazy powers. Cyborg gets more story. Well, I'm not gonna say Superman has a Superman has a pretty cool suit that's different and kind of is accurate to like the comic books where he died and came back. Batman is more heroic because in Batman v Superman, one thing I don't like, he was about to murder another superhero, so he's more heroic. Wonder Woman, she used her powers more and to great effect.
Oh yeah.
Even on regular humans.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she does. She's not no 1984 Wonder Woman. No, she.
No Three Stooges mall robbers here.
Exactly. Right. The stakes are much higher, and she responds appropriately to really evil people. She gives them their comeuppance. But go ahead, and you wanted to say something about Steppenwolf too.
Oh yeah, and I want to say something about Aquaman a little bit, but yeah, Wonder Woman. She just that scene was way more. I think people who just watch this version will be surprised as to how people get launched across the room.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was like, wait a minute, calm down. No, but that was crazy. I think I said every hero right except Aquaman. So Aquaman, he's still cool, but he's not as fun as he was in his own movie. And in the last Justice League movie, he had more of a sense of humor. This movie, he's just like, this is a bad idea. Yeah. But Steppenwolf, I really like this because I read some comics, but I don't really know that much about Steppenwolf. But in the first movie, he was just gotta do this to destroy the world or take over the world. Nothing really else. I just gotta beat people up and kill them.
Right. No motivation. Why did he have to do it? And
well, in the first one, right? You're talking about
in the 2017 version.
What about his motivation here, though? He had a little more motivation, right?
I really like how, and I wish actually that they had more of him. So I'm not like a big Steppenwolf fan or anything, but like, I wish we got like a flashback. Can I say the big bad's name, or is that too?
Sure, I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah, I don't think. All right, so I wish we had a flashback of what exactly Steppenwolf did, and then Darkseid is like, "You crossed me," and then he has like no remorse, no mercy, and he's like, "Darkseid, please, it was a mistake." And then he just banishes him like we see in this. I wish we got to see a little bit more of that, but he at least has
preceded it. The reason why he's motivated.
Yeah, they could have shown it. I agree. They could have, because from what we know, he tried to betray his Darkseid and didn't.
Why would you ever betray Darkseid? Like,
for people who don't know these characters, though, I thought it was close enough, right? They showed he had some motivation. He was talking to someone else who was saying, hey, you're in trouble with the big big. The big big is introduced by our heroes. So it does give more motivation behind this character, why he's more desperate to be dastardly and evil. He has motivations to be more cruel and violent, and he is more cruel and violent. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I also think everyone's going to like the cameos in the movie, and not everybody really reads all the comics or like all that type of stuff, but they're like people in a movie that don't have their like superhero suit on or nothing like that, but if you know their name, you know that they're supposed to be a superhero later on. So that's pretty cool.
Those were definitely dropped in. There were a couple of, and then the big we won't spoil that, but at the very end, a very big dark cameo was thrown in, which again, I enjoyed it, but I don't give it all the points. I can't give that 100% points. To me, it was just reaching for fan service.
I think
it was a component that was dropped in that then they cleaned up afterwards. I'm going to be throwing this scene. I'm going to let this scene run as long as I know the fans will enjoy it, even though it doesn't make sense for that kind of scene. Certain scenes should just last a little while, and then you go, oh, I get it. That was either a flashback or a dream sequence. I'm trying not to spoil it. Flashback, dream sequence, foreshadowing. consumers of film that aren't 4 hours long are used to little jump in scenes that either are foreshadowing or flashback or dream sequence or I wish it would or something like that. This scene, it kept running. Why? Because we know the audience would like it. That's why. Not because it's good for the story, but because we know you're going to like this character. So we're just going to let them keep talking. And then we'll wrap it up and tell you what kind of scene it was. That's what it was. It was an extra scene
where they were doing more.
I think that was a very
emotional.
Hey, that man throwing F-bombs at whoever is it? That now this movie is a 10 out of 10. Okay.
You're wrong for that. So it's a 10 out of 10 because Batman gets to throw F-bombs and that's what makes it 10 out of 10. You just said he's supposed to be good, no killing people.
Well, that's different. That's different.
Right.
He killed up people and cursing, and they're like, yeah. If you were still 12, I couldn't take you to it. So I'll throw in one more thing that I didn't like that's kind of for a comic book. So you gave a comic book fan service thing. I'll say a comic book related thing. I'll put a comic book person complaint. What's up with Marvel and DC that they're just not going to give us any kind of core? They're not going to do it. Hey, Marvel introduces Nova Corps, says the name Nova Corps, no supernova. Mm-hmm. They had the end game. Everyone's in fact, they say, "Oh, you remember Nova Corps? Yeah, they're killed off camera." Okay. They didn't even put them in the film. They just said, their whole planet, the planet that they put in Guardians of the Galaxy, and they showed the Nova Corps, and they hinted that there will be the character supernova. Thanos killed them off camera.
They got a plan, but which one did you want to see here, though?
Deadpool. I don't think DC could take it anymore.
But wait, there's more. So no Nova Corps yet. They just still won't do it. They will not give you supernova, no Nova Corps. And then this is weird. The DC version of Nova Corps is the Green Lantern Corps. In the 2017 movie and in this movie, not really. It's a spoiler?
I don't think it's a spoiler.
It's not a spoiler to tell you what they didn't give you.
I don't want to spoil the movie because that Green Lantern movie apparently was really, really bad. They're going to come up with their idea. Come on now.
They're like, they don't want a stinking dog, and there's just no way they're going to put it in there.
Hey, I didn't even bother to say they didn't want to put any.
Why in the world would he be abandoning Green Lantern?
That's what I'm saying.
Green Lantern
is actually just as significant.
A-level character.
He's an A-level character. He's not even right. Green Lantern is more significant to DC than Supernova is to Marvel, and both houses just decided, we ain't doing it. We ain't doing it.
They probably didn't want to touch it because they're trying to gamble, and they saw that Green Lantern movie was absolutely horrible.
He's actually part of the original 7.
He is part of the original 7. Ladies and gentlemen, comic book likers and not comic book likers, Green Lantern is the 7th member of Justice League. They go to in both films, they go, hey, this room would be great for us to build a table where we'll have six. We'll have 6. She said, we'll have room for more. Yeah, room for more. The one character you refused to put in the film. In both versions, they say, back in the day, there once was a Green Lantern. In the 2017, in this film, they say there once was a Green Lantern, and then no discussion. Say nothing. Say nothing.
I mean, even Deadpool knew what to do with the Green Lantern. Come on now. No, they could have brought one in, but you know what?
I don't
understand. Let's just accept that that's weird. That both.
It's a work in progress. This was the first villain. The villain
hated because he's not that bad, but just not having Green Lantern. They could actually. Hal Jordan was like the original one to join the Justice League, but it could be Hal or John because of the show, and then it would be nostalgia.
But you can't. It's the show the gun principle that we talk about in every film. If you show a gun at the beginning movie, Jeffrey, what's supposed to happen?
Die.
Well, yeah, but even if they don't die, somebody got to get shot. You have to fire the gun. How are you going to show Green Lantern?
Well, the Green Lantern person fired the ring. He did a momentary appearance.
don't make no sense.
Maybe that ring is 5,000 years still trying to find somebody.
It's the weirdest thing in comic book movie
I know.
history that we have no Green Lantern, no Supernova. Even if you got 2 movies, including the Snyder Cut, then why didn't you Snyder cut Green Lantern out of the storyline? Why do you keep bringing him up and not showing him? It's ridiculous.
One thing permitted at a time. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to one green thing at a time.
Yes, so we're not going to spoil that.
Anyway,
but it adds insult to injury.
No, but
even with the Snyder Cut,
they were hoping to build.
Even with other surprises that we won't spoil, they still didn't give us the Green Lantern. That ain't a spoiler to tell you what they left out. That's ridiculous. So that part having said, Zack Snyder's Justice League streaming on HBO Max in all its 4 hours and something glory. What we do here, Jeffrey, is we give fists. We give 4 fists is our maximum rating. So I think I know where Claude's going. So I'll go first, and then I know where you're gonna go with it. But I give it 3 fists out of 4. I save my 4s for perfect films, and it's not perfect.
Wait, 4
is best. Okay. 4 is best. 4 fist is absolute best. And for me, 4 fist has got to be perfect. And 4 hours and 12 minutes it means you gave me extra, but you didn't edit tightly. If you told me it was a series, I would have looked at it differently. We will discuss it. Our WandaVision review will be dropping around the same time here. We reviewed others. If you look at the rest of our reviews, ladies and gentlemen, we got comic book series, including Watchmen, which was a series. I would judge it differently, but no. So anyway, 3 out of 4 for me. What say you, Claude?
Well, honestly, Jeff, I'm surprised you gave it 3 the way you're reviewing it. I thought it was going to be 2 because I like the movie and I'm giving it 3.
All right, I think 3 is a good score.
I'm giving it 3, but I mean, people are going to be like, this 3 fist rating got multiple personalities here because it's not even flow. But I think 3. I think it's excellent. I have one question to ask you guys. If Warner Brothers said, Zach, we want you to do a sequel, I know they're not going to, but let's say they did. How many of you are going to watch a Justice League Part 2? Raise your hands.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well then, okay.
Oh, of course.
Right. Oh yeah.
Jeffrey, what rating do you give it?
So I like other superhero movies better. The 4-hour thing was kind of but I enjoyed almost everything of it. But I can't really say it's perfect. I'm gonna give it like a 3 or 3.5. I'm usually used to like A to F or 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, but if it's a 4 point, I'm gonna have to give it like a
4 is max.
3.5 is fine. You can say 3.5.
So Jeffrey gives it a 3.5 fist. Thanks for being on our show. This is Jeffrey the Second.
I gotta say something.
Yes.
Now, one of the brothers, if you happen to be listening, Cyborg got more story. You know, these characters have like, this movie was pretty good. It was really good. Man of Steel, in my opinion, was pretty good. I think this deserves a sequel, and I think Zack Snyder deserves to be back. I think it will give more, like, you know, I think a lot of stuff Snyder does is actually pretty cool, you know.
So you heard it here first. Jeffrey's called it out, and we're saying we're definitely here to go see it. So this is Jeffrey the Second, our special guest. We're your movie review men. I'm Jeff Johnson, and this is my homeboy. Come back and see us next time.